Jeff Yago, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I can't complain. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to have you on the show. The whole world seems intent to run to their 40 acres and get off grid with the way things are going anymore. I see it a lot on social media. I see it a lot in the real world. What do you think are the big sort of misconceptions when it comes to off grid living that maybe someone looking from afar sees and says, "Oh, I want to do that." What do you think are some of the big misconceptions about it?
Oh, great question. I have over the years certainly have been involved in a lot of off-grid solar homes and projects, and even some commercial stuff. And probably the biggest misconception I have run into is that people have this just unrealistic expectations of what the solar system or solar generator, whatever combination of power you have, what it can
Sure.
actually do. You know,
What do
they
you
want,
think? Like
yeah,
the amount of solar generated?
I've had some people come to me and they want to run air conditioning, electric stoves, electric clothes dryers, and they have to, if they really want to go off grid, they're going to have a much lower expectation of what they're going to have that's actually
Right.
going to be powered by an off grid system, either solar, generator, wind, a combination of the above. It's just they're not realistic in many cases.
So, do you think that people are prepared to make that kind of a sacrifice to give up sort of the modernity that is HVAC, electric,
There
heat,
certainly
electric
I have
stoves?
some people approach me that have a realistic expectation, but as overall, I would say a lot of them um, just think that they can put a few solar panels on the roof and they're going to start running everything in the house, taking a conventional home. And I think really, if you're going to do this right, you're going to have to start at the ground and pretty much design and build a home to be off grid and not expect a conventional constructed home to be able to convert over. It's very hard to do that.
Uh, that's a good piece of advice. Yeah, because that is kind of a hope in some cases. How do I turn this thing I bought that's supposed to be hooked up to the grid into something that can survive off grid? Yeah, that's a good recommendation. We have your book, Lights On, in our 50 must read books to survive doomsday. When you sign up for our newsletter, you get that book automatically. And it was actually recommended to me by Rick Austin. Uh, between that book and your experience developing real life off grid properties and things like that, what else is your background, Jeff?
Oh, well, I'm semi-retired, which means I still work a lot.
I know a lot of guys like that on the semi retirement plan.
I started out years ago with several consulting engineering firms, some national firms, and most of that experience was in energy reduction, energy conservation, design, things of that nature. Moving on, eventually started my own company back in the early 90s and started doing a lot of uh, projects, not too much residential at the time. It's mostly institutional, hospitals, schools, university buildings,
Yeah.
military projects. Then, as we moved into the early 20s, I started getting like um, a lot more work related to solar and wind projects, and
Government stuff or
uh, actually some both. For example, several universities here in Virginia, I've designed solar projects for them. I did an off-grid observatory for the University of Virginia up on a mountain that had no source of electrical power to run an
uh,
observatory. I did a huge parking deck garage for Virginia Tech, which is in Blacksburg, and that was a large grid tie solar system. And in between those projects, in the last few years, I've been brought in as I've gotten more into EMP type work.
right.
Got more involved in military applications. I just got back from South Korea twice last year, and then I just got back from Romania. These
Oh
were all
wow. Super
military
hot places in the world right now.
EMP related issues, which
Yeah.
I can only touch briefly about where I was, but
Yeah.
not
No, I
specific.
understand.
It was they were EMP related.
I understand that for sure. So you're bringing that expertise to Prepper Camp 2025. What classes or class are you teaching, Jeff? I don't know if you do one or more than one. I feel like you
Um,
do two.
I do too,
I
and
thought so.
you ask about an interesting story at the prepper camp. If we have time, I'll relate it. But one of my classes will be on my first book, uh, Lights On, and
Great.
we can go in a lot of detail on the whole concept there, which is different from anything else I have seen other people doing,
It's a great
which is
book.
battery power. And then my most recent book is ABCs of EMP, and then in related to EMP, just out in first of the year was Annie Jacobson's new book, um, Nuclear War: A Scenario, and
Oh,
that's
that's great. Yeah.
number one. That was on the New York Times bestseller list the first of this year. I worked with her over the year as she developed this book, and I provided all of the information regarding EMP as she.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
That was kind of an interesting project, and that although
That's
it's
sweet.
fiction, the entire book takes place in about 4 hours. So it goes in great detail. She interviewed hundreds of military and government people to get the facts. So it's a fictional story, but everything in it is based on provable scientific and governmental
Right.
uh, facts. So it's a good read, and like I said, it's a fast read. So I recommend that if anybody wants more information on what an EMP event, a nuclear event would do in this country. It's an eye opener.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I'm always blown away at day by day how we get closer to the potential for a nuclear war and the potential for an EMP. And we hear almost nothing about how to prepare for it from really, frankly, anybody who's, at the top.
Well, the government's doing lots to prepare, but it's not for us.
I guess that's good, for them. Yeah, that's one of those interesting things. But so ABCs of EMP and Lights
Lights
On will
on.
be your two courses. Okay, man,
Yes.
that's some that's some heavy hitting stuff right there, Jeff. That's some good stuff.
Well, we like, well, I like a lot of questions. So I do about an hour presentation, and I enjoy pretty much fielding questions that folks have rather than
Sure.
a
No, I
canned
get that.
speech of some sort.
Yeah. So you mentioned a tie-in story to Prepper Camp, to your favorite Prepper Camp event. There's always some wild thing happening at Prepper Camp.
I have spoken at prepper camp probably about 4 years, but not last year. So this would have been, I guess, 2 or 3 years back.
Sure.
I had just did a presentation at my on Lights On, and I was following the program, and I didn't realize that Rick had signed me up to do a presentation on EMP. I just saw the title of the class and not who was speaking. So I go hightailing it over to the tent, and of course it's full. People are all there waiting on the speaker, and I'm sitting down,
You
and
wung it?
I didn't know I was even going to be there. And then Rick comes running up on a golf cart and says, "Well, it's time. Get up there, get going." I said, "Well, what?" And so I got up in front of a couple hundred people, totally winging it. It was embarrassing to just be sitting there like an idiot and thinking some other speaker was going to be talking on this topic. And at the time, my book wasn't published yet, the EMP book. So I was just
So
looking
you flew
for.
by the seat of your pants on a 45-minute EMP talk? That's impressive,
Well,
man.
again, I've been working on this for years. I did a lot of work with Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, who is basically the godfather of the whole government issues with EMP research
Uh,
development. So he and I spent a lot of time together. I did some co-authoring of a couple of his books on the effects of blackouts and EMP, and so I
sure.
had the background. Just was totally unprepared.
Yeah.
So, but that's my favorite story. I'm sure that I could think of a couple others.
Oh, that speaks to your level of preparation in the mind,
Well,
right?
no, maybe you need to ask that question to the people who were there.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, right? I'm sure you did awesome. Um, yeah, that's a phenomenal one for sure. It's 2025, Prepper Camp 2025. A lot of us, myself included, missed 24. which was one of those things that for years I said, there's no way I'd ever miss a prepper camp, but I wound up missing one. Um, and I'm kind of glad I did still to this day. I don't have any regrets about what happened up there and me not being there to deal with it. But all that said, what are you looking forward to this year? 2025, you're back. You took a year off just like me.
Yeah, probably for me, looking at the list of speakers, a lot of new folks that I have
That's good. Yeah.
not heard yet, but I want to. And of course, it's always exciting there to be able to. I mean, I've done a number of presentations across the country over the years, but not like prepper camp. You speak for an hour and then that's it. And here you can be several days there with multiple times to speak and a lot of opportunities to sit down with the people who are there. And everybody has questions and they enjoy being able to just sit around the campfire and chatting about some of their concerns and questions. And a lot of them are frustrated that they're not getting accurate information, especially if they do search engines on the
Yeah,
internet or
sure.
something. I mean, especially regarding EMP, it's all over the place. One so-called expert says do this, another one says do that. So
Yeah.
they're frustrated, and I try to bring as much of my knowledge as I can from real life experiences, and I think that's the thing that I like the most is being able to just chat with these people.
Yeah. When you're captive there for 3 days at a time and everybody's there and in it together. I mean, I usually speak, and I remember more than one time coming off stage and having somebody waiting for me there with a pen and pad or something to that effect. The year that I did the entrepreneurship talk was a big one like that, where we had a lot of interaction between myself and the people after, follow-up questions, that kind of stuff. People ever hunt you down after?
Oh, real quick, if I have just a second,
Go ahead, sure.
always tell folks at the end of my presentations that you know if you don't have time after class or I don't, hunt me down. I'll be walking around the event, and this was at a huge event that was I did for Mother Earth News. It was out
Oh,
in
okay, yeah.
where was it? Somewhere out west, one of the locations, and huge, like in a big coliseum. Thousands and thousands of people, and so. After my part was over, I'm walking around the exhibit area, which was huge, and this lady, this woman had to be in her 80s, and she came up to me and stopped and said, "Excuse me, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." I was disappointed because nobody had asked me any questions after this.
Uh,
Nobody had talked to me at all, and for like hours, I'm just wandering around, like, well, where's the questions? And then this little lady came up to me and stopped me. And sure, ma'am, I'll be glad to help any way I can. She said, "Do you know where the women's restrooms are
oh,
located?"
oh man, you thought you netted yourself one. And like, we're gonna get into it here. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, it's one of those topics. If you're into it, you're into it. And then once you go down the rabbit hole, it's like, man, if you're
oh,
talking EMP.
it is, and to the people who may be listening on preppers, they they need to understand that it's a topic that most real preppers are very reluctant to discuss with strangers. They just
Yeah, it's a good point.
they've been burnt too many times. The sky's falling, and then you're an
Sure.
idiot and crazy, and you're the crazy uncle, and so most of us real preppers tend to have these great conversations among ourselves, not with the general public,
Yeah.
with a person who's maybe a novice coming into this, and we tend to forget, you know, that there are genuine interests from folks who really don't have any beginning starting point yet.
Right.
But we've just been burnt so many times that we're reluctant now to talk with them, and they're going to have to kind of hunt us down or go to these events, but they're not going to find somebody. Even their next door neighbor could be a prepper, but they're not going to know that just in general conversation. That we just don't talk about it to anybody else other than ourselves. So going to an event like this is a perfect way for them to get started, and talk to the folks, get the reference materials, look at all the products that are available. That's what I like about prepper camp. It's especially for somebody just starting out and wanting to know the basics. This is the place to do that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's an interesting perspective too, because I'm so awash in the prepper world doing the podcast and having the hosts and the fans and all that kind of stuff that you do forget that. You do forget about that whole kind of holding back in certain conversations and topics if it's not a friend. And
Oh,
when you're outside that sphere and you want to get in and get the real information, because there's a lot of landmines out there, Jeff Yago. There's a lot of landmines on YouTube and all kinds of information out there that, and it's only going to get worse because of AI. AI is going to make the survival and prepping blogs and YouTube like probably hard to digest at all. So then going to events like Prepper Camp, you get to talk to people face to face. You know it's real. You know.
I'm worried about AI coming out with videos now with people you know and voices you know, and it's
Oh,
totally
it's
bogus.
crazy. Yeah, it's
You think you
crazy.
can really, well, he really said that, and no, he didn't.
Yeah,
That's a big concern.
it's definitely here, and you know, I think personally, I think AI is going to drive people away from this medium. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are driven away from what we're doing right here and right now because they're going to look at this unless they know you. You know what I mean? If they already know Jeff Yago, if they already know James Walton, then they're going to say, "Well, that's them. I can tell. I can tell the way they're talking because I've been listening to them for so long." But I think on the random, you know, like just watching some random podcast or something like that, I think people probably won't have the confidence or the trust in it. What do
Well,
you
I'm
think?
easy to find online. Just do a search of my name. It's Jeff Yago, Yago, and I've got hundreds of articles I've published for various magazines that you can download and watch for free. I also have Facebook, but I never remember how to get on it.
I'm sure if they search Jeff Yago and Facebook, they'll find you.
But anyway, I certainly am looking forward to Prepper Camp this year, and I hope I have an opportunity to talk with as many people that want to chat, and hopefully I can give them some help and some guidance that they're not going to get that I know of anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely not at 60 classes per day. But I appreciate you, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming on today. And I guess I'll see you there live and in person, no AI.
No AI, this is real.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
See you, James.